Coming to you from Plano, Texas, I'm Rich, and I'm hiding in the upstairs bedroom of my house, and you know what? Tonight is beer night. Thank you so much for joining me on episode number 4 of my show, the most raw, real, unfiltered show there is about beer. We're gonna jump right in, but first I've got to get something on the record after last week. On last week's episode, I said something about my wife yells at me all the time, and she saw that and she didn't like it very much. And I just want to clear up for the record that my wife doesn't yell at me all the time. She's very nice, and she lets me do my own thing. I know I'm like hiding in this room doing this beer show, and I say she doesn't let me leave, but she lets me leave the house whenever I want to, and I'm really in control. So I love you, honey. I didn't mean anything by that, and you don't yell at me. So let's jump right into the trivia shoutouts. The question last week was, who was the first brewer in England to export pale ale to India, which would have been the first IPA? And the answer was George Hodgson. And Alexi, you got it right on YouTube. You were the first one. And Lance was the first one to answer right on Facebook. And I found out that Lance was watching us from an airplane. That's pretty awesome. A couple comments from last week's show, other than my wife's comment, which I cleared up. Joyce said, great video. Thanks, Joyce. Liana said, I like that it's funny and informative. You should include more facts about Canada next week to make the show educational. So, you know what? I've got 3 fun facts for you about Canada right now. Ready? Number 1, Canada has the longest international border with any country. Happens to be with the US, and they have no military guarding their border. So, you know what? Canada, we can invade you any time. So you better behave. Number 2, Christopher Columbus didn't discover the North American continent. It was the Vikings, and they actually landed in Canada. So Canada is the location of the first Europeans who discovered North America. Get out of here, Christopher Columbus. It was like 500 years before Columbus. Number 3, Canada builds overpasses over their highways for animals and wildlife, not just for cars and people, but they have wildlife overpasses. It's cut down on roadkill by 80%. I'm dead serious. If you look it up, it really has. So go Canada. Those are some fun facts. Let's get to tonight's beer. La Fin Du Monde, which in French translates to the end of the world. Apparently the brewery named it this to honor European explorers who thought they had reached the end of the world when they got to North America. What I want to know is, why are you honoring them if they were wrong? They obviously didn't reach the end of the world. There's no such thing. Anyway, so let's talk about this beer. La Fin Du Monde, 9% ABV. Very high on the alcohol content for a beer. Let's hope I can make it through the show after I open it. From Quebec, Canada, and 19 on the IBU scale. So it's got some bitterness to it. Not a lot compared to like an IPA from last week, but some. Unibrow is the brew that makes it. And I always thought a unibrow was when you have the eyebrow that goes all the way across. When I was looking this up, I came across in Tajikistan, unibrows are very, very sexy. So Tajikistan, man, unibrows are sexy. I thought about maybe we could try to bring the unibrow to Texas, like a new style, and then women and men wouldn't have to pluck the hairs right there. Let me know if you think that's a good idea. Unibrow. Anyway, started in 1993 by a couple of Canadian businessmen, and they did a good job because people really like their beers. And as I'll mention, this beer actually has won more awards than any other Canadian beer. I can't name that many Canadian beers, but the brewery Unibrow is now owned by Sapporo, the Japanese brewer. But it's still made in Canada. It's still a Belgian-style Tripel. So, what is that? Well, Belgian beers, when they developed over the centuries, they weren't subject to those German purity laws that really highly regulated what went into them. So the Belgian beers were much more colorful and creative. A lot more flavors could be imparted in them. But a Belgian-style Tripel was created about 100 years ago by some Catholic Trappist monks. If you ever see like a Trappist ale, that word Trappist, that's the religious order, Trappist monks, and they're allowed to drink alcohol. So they do the religious studies, and then they got really, really good at making beer. And a Belgian-style Tripel, it's got a golden color. It's considered very majestic because it's got fruitiness in it, as well as some spicy pepperiness flavors to it. And it can even have some hoppiness to it. So there's a lot going on in a beer like this. It's also known for getting you drunk without you noticing. It's got the high alcohol content, but people say they can't really taste the alcohol. So we will see. I've never had this beer before in my life. So we're gonna see here. Let's go ahead and open it. Oh, it's a bottle conditioned beer. You see how it's got this little twisty on it with a cork? Once they put the beer in here, it's not done fermenting. It continues to ferment in the bottle after it's been bottled. So let's get this thing off here. Let's see if I can get this. Damn, that scared me. It's like a champagne bottle almost. Okay, and this is a chalice. You're supposed to drink a Belgian ale from a chalice. It's big and it's heavy, and it should really help us smell and taste this thing. All right, look at that. That's a beautiful, sort of a dark golden color. Do my little flashlight test here. I don't even know if that has an effect, but it's got some carbonation bubbles coming up in it. It's got a nice white head. So some of the things we're gonna look for, the fruitiness and the spiciness. That's what I'm gonna look for when I smell it. People say they taste peaches, pears, apples, nectarines, and then ginger, coriander, and a lemon pepper, orange zest I was reading. So let's go ahead and give this a smell. Whoa, smells delicious, and there is a lot going on. I smell fruitiness, even maybe some banana, but I do smell like tree fruits, like pears, maybe some apple, maybe some nectarine, and maybe some spiciness in the smell, but I bet I'll maybe get that more in the taste. Let's go ahead and, I'm excited. Let's give this a taste. Yeah. You taste the spiciness part of it on your tongue. It's like you smell the fruitiness and then you taste the spiciness. I definitely taste some like lemon peppery, like orange zest. Let me do a little more. It is really, really good. I do not taste the alcohol, so it definitely hides the alcohol content. Oh, you know it? You start to feel the warmth. I do feel a little bit of like warmth now, sort of in the aftertaste, but there is a lot going on. As far as bitterness, it's not bitter. It does feel creamy. I think some people said it feels creamy. I don't taste bitterness. It's really, really good. It's good. And actually, I like the warmth. It's almost like you're sipping on whiskey or something. So, if I were to give this a human emotion, I think I would call this like passion, like a passionate warmth. It's like a hot, passionate beer. Maybe like a unibrow passion. Like if you're kissing someone, you're kissing your passionate lover and they have a unibrow and you can feel the unibrow rubbing on your face. Kind of like that kind of passion, you know? I don't know how many of you have kissed someone with a unibrow. If you have, I would love to know about it, but yeah, a passionate beer. I really, really like this. As I've said before, I'm not a beer expert, so I'm not comfortable ranking things like all the way up there. but this is definitely in the 90s. I'm gonna give this, I'm giving this a 94. 94 out of 100. Wow, 94 out of 100. La Fin Du Monde. Can't wait to finish this when we turn the camera off. Okay, trivia question for next week. Who is the hockey player at the beginning of the video? Who's that hockey player? Answer it right. Be the first one to answer right on Facebook or YouTube, and you will be on the shout out board for next week. Okay, blokes. Next week's beer. I'm going to ask you to go by your local grocery and pick up a Newcastle Brown Ale from the north of England. We'll have a splendid time drinking this nice English brown ale next week. Go get one and we'll do it together. All right, that wraps up episode 4. Thank you so much for watching my show about beer, Please subscribe if you like the video. Hit the little subscribe button on YouTube. And remember, no matter where you are in the world, even if you're in Tajikistan, wearing a unibrow, sporting the unibrow, if you like beer, you will always have a friend right here in Plano, Texas. Thank you so much. Good night.